أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, we are going to start chapter 4, which is on databases. So we're going to do a few things today. First, we're going to start chapter 4 and discuss chapter 4 for a few minutes. And then as students are joining, inshallah, after I finish discussion of chapter 4, I'm going to tell you the date of the midterm exam. If I forget, remind me. And then I'm going to give you opportunities to ask me questions on the computerized AIS assignment as well as the flowchart practice questions. So this is the plan for today, inshallah. So let's start, inshallah. The database is something that is going to be of use to accountants throughout their careers. And we have a few topics. Instead of just going through the topics that we're going to discuss, let's jump into the first one and start talking about it. The first thing we're going to discuss is the difference between the filing system and the database system, right? We have a question here from Muhammad. Can we have the answer, you mean to the flowchart exercises? They will be available to you at 5 o'clock today, inshallah. It's in Blackboard, so you should try to solve them. And if you already did, you will get the solutions available to you. It will be made available to you at 5 o'clock today, inshallah. Okay? All right. It's already in Blackboard. I posted it, but I made it available after 5 o'clock today so that you work on it without looking at the solution first, inshallah. Okay. Now we have the older system was the filing system, the file system, and now we have the database system. What is the difference between the two? You know, let me tell you a story from when I was an undergraduate student. The first time I joined the University of South Alabama in 1995. Maybe most of you were not even born at that time, right? Anybody born before 1995 or right, 1994? Okay, so you were 1 year old. All right, so most of you probably were not born. So 1995, when I went to the University of South Alabama, I was an electrical engineering major. My major was electrical engineering. And before I joined the university, I visited my uncle in New York, and he took me to an accountant's office and showed me what they were doing, etc., and tried to convince me. And I was impressed. So I called my dad. I said, you know, I want to change. I want to switch my major to accounting because I think I will like it, and I think there is a good prospect, etc. So my father agreed, and I joined the university. Now, when I initially joined the university, there was a file for me. There was a master file for me with my name, my address, my high school grades, all of my past records in the admissions department. And then this file, when I was accepted as a student at the College of Engineering, was sent, not the file, but my information was sent to the College of Engineering. So I went to the College of Engineering. I remember to this day, I went there and I told them that I don't want to be an engineering student. I want to be a business student. And it was very easy, right? All you had to do is sign a form at the College of Engineering saying that I don't want to be an engineering student, and they would give you your file. So I took that file and I literally walked over to the College of Business, and I went to their office, their administrative office, and I said, I want to be a business student. And they said, welcome, sign here and fill this form and give us your file. And boom, I was a business student. Now, you know, 2 years into the program or 1 year into the program, I declared my major as accounting. So you know how it works. You have to be a business student first, and then you can declare your major in the College of Business. But now what I have a file at the admissions department, and I have another file at the College of Business. So there is duplication. There are two different files. The file at the admissions had my phone number and my permanent address, and here when I filled this out at the College of Business, I was not living in Mobile, Alabama, right? That was not my city. So I filled out my form with the address of the city where the university was. Now address and my phone number does not match between this and the admissions. So there is duplication and there is inconsistency. So now I don't have the same information in both the places. So this was how things were back then, and there it's still the case in some places, I'm sure, right? But what we have now in most universities, and for sure at Qatar University, is the database system where the data is managed centrally, right? So if you want to change your email address, your personal email address, or your home address, or your home phone number, all you have to do is log in to MyQU and edit the information, and it will be updated. So this is stored in one place, and it will be updated in one place, and it would be consistent no matter who looks at that information. If I look at it, your auditing professor looks at it, the dean looks at it, or the admissions or the graduation program looks at it, all of them will see the same because the data is now in one place, it's centrally managed, and it's consistent. It is the same everywhere, right? It's a huge thing because now the data is not required to be updated multiple times, and everybody's looking at the same data. So there is going to be no duplication or inconsistency. Are you following so far? Simple, right? This is not something complicated. You're familiar with this concept. You're used to this. The same idea, if you look at it using a diagram, you see these are magnetic disks where data is stored for different programs, enrollment, financial aid, grades, etc. Same data as you see fact A, fact A, fact A. And if you change fact A in one place, the other two must be changed independently. So now, the data can be inconsistent if you change it in one place and forget to change it or make a mistake in changing in the other places. But the database has all the data in one storage right here in this one magnetic disk. It's managed by the central database management system. So for us, we have the ITS department. They have servers where the data is kept. All of your grades, all of your records are kept there. It's managed by the ITS, the Information Technology Services Department, and all the other offices, all the other programs, the enrollment program, the financial aid program, the grades program, they can all access that using the same database management system. And if one of them changes something, one of them updates something, everybody else will see this update, right? This is simple. Yeah, you understand? You're following? Any questions? Any difficulty? You're following? Yes. Okay. Now, the benefits or the advantages of database, as you can realize, there are fewer files. So now you only have to have one file, one master file for each individual, and it's used by many programs. So many users are using the same file. No need to have separate files for each program. The data is shared by everybody. The ease of revision and access is there. It can be revised, it can be updated easily, and it can be accessed easily. There is minimal redundancy. The word redundancy means unnecessary repetition. So if I say the same thing more than once, as I'm trying to explain this to you, I say the same thing more than once in different ways, etc. That's not redundant. That is to explain there is a need. But if there is repetition where there is no need, then that is called redundancy. And having multiple files for the same person is redundant. There is no need. So database reduces, and it also reduces the inconsistency. The program and the data are independent. So the data, for example, that you have in your phone, the photos, the videos, the contacts, the notes, all of that, it's independent from the program. So if you upgrade the software, if you go to the next updated version of the software, or even if you change your phone, so if you go from iPhone 6 to iPhone 7 to iPhone 10 to iPhone 11, your data is going to be transferred regardless of the program, right? It's fairly easy to do. Now, you remember, I don't know if you remember, 15 years ago, pre-iPhone era, pre-smartphone era, where the Nokia phones with a small screen and a large keyboard was there. Do you remember? Have you seen those phones? They're still available now. I have a couple of them myself. I've been in my uh, with my old stuff in the box. I have a couple of them myself. Those phones, you had the data with the program. So if you wanted to change the phone, you had to carry your old phone with your new phone, and if somebody called your new phone, you would not know who that person is. So the data and the program were the same. But now, with the advent of the databases, the data and the program are independent. So if you change one without the other, I mean, you don't have to change both at the same time. You can change one and the other can be transferred, right? And of course, the central management of data. We have the centrally managed data at our university, at the ITS building in the server room, and this data is also backed up off-site. So we have a backup of this outside of Qatar as well. If something happens to that data, if there's a fire or anything happens to that data can be retrieved. So your grades and your transcripts and all of your data, it's safe and it's backed up, and it's managed by experts. So it's not sitting in somebody's drawer or in somebody's hard drive where if the computer crashes, that's it. It's not like that. So it's centrally managed, which is a huge advantage for the data, right? Okay, it's fairly simple. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to continue, inshallah. So why we need to learn about databases? The database technology is everywhere, and accountants must use the database technology. Now, you don't need to necessarily learn codes and sophisticated programs on how to write a database code and so forth, but you need to have an idea of an overall idea of how the database works, so that you can give instructions to the IT individual knowledgeably to achieve what you want to achieve as an accountant or as a business executive. Even if your major is not accounting or minor is not accounting, database technology is definitely something that you need to know something about. You should not be totally ignorant. And some of this information you are also going to learn in your MIS classes as well. So there is, some overlap among different classes, which is a benefit as well, because if you learn the same thing in 2 or 3 different ways from 2 or 3 different people, it makes it more strong in your mind as well. Okay. Now, the data is important. The data that is generated from the database is important, and the accuracy of the data is important, because if you have bad data, then it leads to bad decisions. For example, if the class schedule was available to you for spring and the data in there is bad, it's incorrect, it's inconsistent, and you're thinking that this course will be offered next semester, and you find later on that it's actually not offered, the data was incorrect, this may delay your graduation, right? This may cause you to lose your status as a student, for example, if you're on a student visa. So this will cause bad decisions if the data is bad. It can also cause embarrassment. So if the organization provides its users or customers with bad data, then it can cause embarrassment. For example, if you order pizza from Papa John's and they have a lot of customers ordering at that time, and they promise you the pizza will be there in 30 minutes, but it's not possible for them. So if they did not look at the data before giving you that making that promise, then when they don't come even after 1 hour, that's embarrassing. And it will cause angry users as well, right? It will cause angry users and customers as well. So bad data causes bad decisions, embarrassment, and it could make customers and users angry, right? Akram, you're having some issue with the audio. Is it lagging? Try your best, inshallah, and the video is also going to be available, so we're recording it so you can listen to this again, inshallah. Okay, now the first concept we have of databases is the view of the database. Now we're going to study two concepts today, and then I'll give you chances to ask me questions on the computerized AIS as well as the flowchart questions. The logical view of the database is what you're looking at right now. So the data that I have in my computer, I'm showing the logical view to you, this particular slide, this particular set of slides, and this particular slide number 8 out of 12. The physical view, if you were to look at the physical view, then this is what it would look like. So if I go to you see this, you're seeing the screen. If I go to AIS and I go to class slides and I go to this class 8 chapter 4, right? This is where this file is physically located. Are you following? So this is the physical view. This is where the file is physically, and if I click on it, it will open, and I did click on it, it didn't open, and you're looking at it, you were looking at it just right before this, right? Are you following? So this is where the file is physically, this is the physical place of the data, and the logical view is when you see the file actually open. Like that. Is that clear? Do you see the difference between the logical view and the physical view? Okay. Now here is the database. Here is the magnetic disk where the data is stored. So let's say this is the memory in your computer. This is the storage in your computer, right? 50 gigabytes. And then you have the operating system, which is the Windows operating system, and then you have the database management software, database management system, which is any software, like it could be Access, it could be Excel, it could be Word, anything where you have the data stored. So this, using the operating system, opens this file that you want to look at, and it shows it to you on the display on the screen. So this is the logical view, and this is where the data is physically stored, right? The database system is the software that allows you to enter, modify, and look at the data, and the operating system is the system. For example, here we have Windows, right? We're using Windows. I'm using Windows. You could be using an Apple computer. So again, in there you can also install in Windows as well. So you have the operating system, and then the database management software, and then you have the actual data which is stored here physically, and you can look at it by opening it on your screen in a logical way. Does that make sense? Okay, now the last concept for today, which is the schemas. The schemas describe the logical structure of a database, and they are in 3 levels. So the way the database is structured logically at three different levels, schemas describe that logic. What does this mean? Let's take a look at this. We have three different levels of schema. We have the internal level schema, we have the conceptual level schema, and we have the external level schema. Let's look at the internal level schema first. What is this? We have a particular logic using which we have the data in our database and we enter the data in our database. For example, we enter in the student record student numbers. The student number has a logic, it has a definition, that is, it has 9 characters. So you cannot enter more than 9 characters, and if you enter anything less, then the database would not accept it. It will say that this is not a valid student number, right? And the way this logic is defined, right, the way the code is written is that no other logic would work. You have to enter 9 characters and you cannot enter more, and if you leave anything blank, then the computer will say this is not valid. Now you could define, you could give more logic. You could say all of this should be numbers, or all of this should be alphabets, for example, right? So here, this logic is called the internal level schema, and you give this logic for every single item you have. For example, the student name, right? 26. It's most likely all letters, all alphabets. The SAT score, the class name, the department number, the course number, all of every single one of these things have a particular logic. So if there was an email address, this email address would have to be, you know, uh, something at something dot something, right? This format must be there. So right, so Abdurrahman at qu.edu, for example, right? So something at something, if this at was missing and if this dot was missing, then the computer will say that this is not a valid email address. So this logic is called the internal level schema when you're entering the data into the database. Is that clear? Okay. The external level schema is, I will come back to the conceptual. The external level schema is the logic with which you see it on your screen. So for example, when you go to Banner and you want to look at the class schedule, after you make your selections, the database extracts the classes you want to look at and it shows it to you on the screen. And the format of this is following a particular logic. So for example, in the first column, all the classes will show. In the second column, the name of the instructor will show. In the third column, the number of students enrolled will show. So this logic that is there in presenting this information is the external level schema, and you can define this the way you like. If you want to make a table or you want to present it in the form of a text and paragraphs, however you want to do that, you can define that. You can tell your uh, IT experts to write the code, and the data will be formatted and presented into these formats for the external users, for the external level schema. So the logic, and this has to be defined, right? If you want to include the name and the ID number and what information you want to include, it's there, right? So this is the external level schema. For example, when I go to Blackboard, I have the option to look at your name and your ID number and your username. I can choose to only look at your name and not the other information. I could choose to look at the last time you accessed, or how many times you accessed, or how many times you downloaded something, or I can choose not to look at it. So I can give this definition and I won't see what I don't want to see, and I will see what I want to see. So this logic, right, this external level schema that I can give a definition to is called the external level schema. Does that make sense? Now we have the last one, which is the conceptual level schema. Think of the database as many tables that are interconnected with some logic. For example, you're taking, let's say, 5 or 6 classes this semester. I have in my Blackboard uh, account a course which is Accounting Information System English Mail. And in there, I have a table where I have all of your names, and I'm adding the quiz grades, and I'm adding the project and the midterm and so forth. I'm creating this table. So I have a table like that where I have all of your information, all of your grades. Your auditing teacher has the same. Your management teacher has the same. Your Arabic teacher has the same. And these tables are somehow connected. These are interconnected together, and data can be extracted from each one of these tables, and it can be shown to you in another table. For example, when you individually, Hamad or Muhammad or Akram or Hamza, you go and you want to look at your grade or your exam scores, you are only going to look at your grade from all of these classes and not the grades of anybody else. So there is some logic, there is some method which extracts the information, the data from these different tables, which are somehow connected, and we're going to discuss how they're connected more next Sunday, inshallah. But there is a logic which connects these tables, and they extract only the information that is pertinent, that is related to the user, and shows it to the user. So conceptually, all of these, your enrollment, your status student, your fee payment, your grades, all of these for you individually from all of these different places is somehow connected through what we call keys, right? And we're going to discuss what it is more in next class. But they connect all of these tables together, and they allow you to look at only the selected data that is relevant to you as a user through these logical schemas. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Very good. Uh, Study what we have studied so far today, inshallah. And if you have any questions, you can ask me at the beginning of next class or send me an email, no problem. Uh, you can have, if you have any questions, you can ask me now as well before I go to the next thing for the day. Okay. Uh, how many of you have started to work on the computerized AIS assignment? The computerized AIS assignment is posted in Blackboard, and okay, so I have some students who have started to work on it. Those who have started to work on it, do you find it straightforward? Do you find it easy to follow? Is there any difficulty? Right? So there are two files. One is this, and it's step-by-step instructions. Each step does not have a lot of difficult instructions, right? Like for example, using Google Chrome, go to this website and then click on sign up for free, and it shows you exactly where the screen, how the screen would look like, and where exactly to click, right? For every step, right? It's it's showing you exactly what you need to do step by step. So once you get to step 9, right, you're set up to start working on the first practice. Practice 1 is another file that is posted in Blackboard. So you have two files posted in Blackboard. One is the step-by-step instructions, and the other one is practice 1. Print both of them or at least print practice one. If you have a big screen, you can look at the instructions, step-by-step instructions, and create an account and start typing. But printing it probably is more user friendly. It's probably easier. So what we have now is the practice one, step by step, and you can complete that, and the solution to practice one will be available to you uh, later today. But you should not look at the solution. You should work on the practice one first, and then match your answers with the practice one. And then if you have questions, you can ask me now, or you can ask me. You can send me an email and I'll try to answer, or I'll give you time, like I'm giving you time right now. I'll give you time in the next few classes. If you used it before, alhamdulillah, very good. If you used this before, then it is going to make it even better for you by going through the practice. This is something that you are not going to live without as an executive or as an accountant especially. This is something that is going to be part of your daily life, using a software like this. So the more you get comfortable with it, the better it is for you, inshallah. And then I will allow you time to ask me questions in the class as well. So if you haven't started to practice, please start working on it, and before next class, see if you have any difficulty, and I'm going to help you, inshallah. Okay. Any questions for me in this regard, or related to the computerized AIS right now? Any questions that I can answer? Anything I can help you with? Okay, those of you who haven't started, inshallah, please start working on it. The exam is going to be on October 4th. So the computerized AIS exam is on October 4th during the class time, during the class period, right? Right? Clear? This is going to be online, yes. This is going to be online. So I'm going to give you the exam, you'll download, you'll work in Wave, and then you will submit the file in Blackboard, right? You submit your completed file as a PDF in Blackboard, right? And this file gives you step-by-step instructions on exactly how to create the PDF file, how to submit the PDF file and everything, right? Make sure the company name that you create is your name. For example, you see my name here. The name of the company is my name, right? My first name and my last name. So it should be your first name and your last name, right? Hamad's company should be Hamad Al-Ghunaim. Muhammad's name, company's name should be Muhammad Al-Isa, right? So the computerized AIS exam is going to be online, but the midterm exam, right? Exam is on campus and hard copy, right? This is going to be in the college, and it will be on September 23rd from 12:30 until 1:45. Right, September 23rd. That's the midterm exam, and chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 are included in term exam, and I'm going to do a review after we complete chapter 4. I'm going to do a review, and I'm going to tell you how many each type of questions will be, and I will also do some flowchart question practice of flowchart questions before the exam. So, how many of you have practiced the flowchart questions? How many have you have started to practice the flowcharts? Inshallah. So if you haven't done it, please do. There's enough time still. You have not fallen behind, right? Abdul Rahman says, didn't understand the questions properly, meaning the flowchart questions. Okay. What is confusing? Let me pull up the question here. Let me pull up the practice question here so that you can ask me. Okay. Abdurrahman, first question says, at Hot and Fresh restaurant, customer orders are taken at the computer terminal and the customers are given a receipt, right? This is very similar to the system flowchart that we have, right? So you start by drawing a computer terminal and then a computer process and then a receipt, which is a document. The order is transmitted to the kitchen monitor and it's also stored in the sales data storage. The order is prepared at the kitchen and it's given to the customers. The sales data is transmitted to accounting department from the sales data storage. So step by step, right? Are you following? What we did is, what is asked here is to draw the step by step diagram, right, using the symbols. What is the difficulty? You need to do exactly the way it is taught to you in the slides, right? Draw one, and the solutions will be available in Blackboard, and compare the answer with the solution. So draw, just go freestyle, draw what you feel, and then look at the solution, and then draw the second one and look at the solution, and then I will give you more practice, right? So once you go through these practices, you will become more and more comfortable. Sharat, so draw what, based on what you understand. Do your best, look at the solution, learn from that, go to the next one. So slowly you will get the idea what exactly you need to do. Okay. Atif says, does the block be an example of internal level? Block code is something else. Internal level schema is something else. Block code is used to organize data, right? To store the information as well as organize the different components, right? The code has a logic, but when you're entering a piece of data in the database, it has a logic, and that's called the internal level schema. Block code is something else. So don't mix up the block code with the internal level schema. The internal level schema is much more than just the block code. All right, Sharat, did you get what I asked you to do? Okay. Other questions? Other issues? Right? The solution is going to be available to you later on today, inshallah. So try to draw freestyle, go freestyle, try your best, and then look at the solution. Then go to the next one, try, and then look at the solution. And then I'll give you more. There are 2 of them here, and then I will give you more next week, inshallah. Okay, when I do the review for the exam, I'll give you more. Any questions for me on the computerized AIS assignment or the flowchart exercises? Okay. If you don't have any questions for me, I need you to start working on the computerized AIS. I'll give you this time left in the class. Don't waste the time. Use these 30 minutes that I'm giving you to get started on the computerized AIS. And if you have done so, get started on the flowchart. Use this time and practice. And I will give you an opportunity to ask me if you have any questions in the next class or next few classes for the computerized AIS. And I will see you next Sunday, inshallah, if you don't have any questions. All right. All right. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.